Hi guys, this is Holistic Health Harry, Alkalized to Realize talk show. Today we're joined by a very special guest, Britt Hope, Britt the Raw Alchemist on Instagram. So hi Britt, how are you?
Amazing. Wholeness and balanced vibrations.
Oh, thank you. And you're in a very special place right now. Where are you? Where are you?
We're in Costa Rica. My family and I just got out here. We've been here about 6 weeks.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I thought you'd been there a while.
Yeah, we've been here about 6 weeks. We've been in transition planning to come out here for the last 3 years.
Okay.
But we arrived here about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, wow. So you're in the new phases of a new lifestyle, the permanent lifestyle.
For sure. Yeah, our journey is a little bit interesting about getting out here. Like I said, we planned about, I think it's been actually 3.5 years ago, we planned to move to Costa Rica. We had a home in Florida. We sold our home. And then we bought a condominium as like to do a flip. And my husband and I did the flip on our own and rebuilt this condominium, sold that, and then we bought a bus, an airport shuttle bus. And we converted it over into an RV and converted it over to run on waste vegetable oil rather than diesel.
Waste vegetable oil. How does that work?
So we can go to you can go to any restaurant, but we prefer to go to a vegan restaurant because the oil is much cleaner and we just prefer it that way. To go to that restaurant and you ask for their waste oil, anything that they've used to like fry French fries, whatever it is they're frying. A lot of Vietnamese restaurants, places like that. And you fill up and you use that oil instead of using diesel or gasoline.
Cool. I didn't know that was possible. How crazy is that? And use that travel around in your waste oil from restaurants.
Yeah, we did that conversion in Miami. It took us about a year to do the conversion. We parked the bus in a fruit forest. And we were living at the beach and we would drive over to this fruit forest that our friend owned and work on the bus in the conversion. And then when we got most of the way finished, we started making our way from Florida towards California. And the intention was to drive down through Baja and then take the ferry over through Baja into Mexico and then drive all the way to Costa Rica. And so we ended up spending about a year in the California area doing some other things with life that popped in. And the border started to close here. We had already had a flight booked to come out to Costa Rica to meet up with some friends and to check out land and microclimates and all of that before driving in our bus. Our bus was supposed to be driven in May. And we decided, we found this house, we found this beautiful area. And so we've got our bus in storage. We're in a fruit forest right now where we've got fruit trees growing everywhere. And I don't know if you can hear the cicadas and all the noise, the binaural.
No, but I'm sure they're, no.
But it's been a big change that's been in the works. Like I said, for the last few years, because we wanted to be breathing cleaner air and have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And a big part of our life is eating raw fruits and vegetables and getting sunlight. And, we're at the top of a mountain where I can go out and lay in the chair without any clothes and not worry about anyone having a hard time with it. And
how cool is that? That is really cool. And like you said, it's taken you a long time. So this is the kind of lifestyle we want to other people can take inspiration from, but to understand it does take a while. It's not just like, oh, I had this idea and tomorrow I'm going to manifest it and like it's going to happen. It takes a while, right?
Well, I don't want to say that because when we got on that plane, it's a really interesting story. Let's see how much of that story I can tell without freaking people out too much.
Okay.
When we got onto that plane, the borders were closing the following day. And like I said, we had already planned this trip.
Quickly, is that because of the virus? Was it? No,
because of the virus, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when we found out this was going on, we were getting a lot of messages from people telling us, the borders are going to close. And so we were a little bit nervous about it, but they were supposed to close that following day. And so what had happened is we had booked out through Mexico. So we were going to go from California into Mexico and then fly to Costa Rica. And it was optimal for us to do that because we were going to put our bus in storage, kind of close to the border, all that type of thing. And we ended up getting emails from Mexico saying that the flight wasn't going to go. And so we called and they said, oh no, it was just a mistake. We're changing the flight numbers a little bit, but your flight's still going. So just to be on the safe side, we booked another flight out of San Diego. We had 2 flights, you know, one out of San Diego, one out of Mexico, out of Tijuana, just in case, because we're like, we're going to Costa Rica right now. Yeah. We're not staying in the US through all this. We're going to Costa Rica. And so what ended up happening, longer story short, was we got to Tijuana. We were told that it was going to be fine. We got to Tijuana and they're like, the flight's not going. And at this point, we'd already lost our flight to San Diego because it was a couple hours early. My husband looked at his phone and it was like 8:30. The next flight going out and the last flight going out was in an hour and 20 minutes. And we're in Mexico. We all have backpacker style backpacks on. It's my husband, myself, and our 11-year-old son. We've got backpacker style backpacks on. And we've got 2 suitcases that are supposed to be checked suitcases. So they've got herbs in them. They've got Gans water in them. They've got all kinds of things.
Plasma Gans? Plasma Gans? Plasma Gans?
Yeah. Plasma Gans.
Nice, you're onto that. Well done. Okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure. So we had all these things that really needed to be, you know, checked baggage. That had the intention was for it to be checked baggage. So we've got an hour and 20 minutes to get from Tijuana to San Diego, and we don't have a vehicle with us. We've got to walk through the border. So we decided to run through the border. You know, my heart is pounding so hard. My son is like, all 3 of us. It was just like intense, very intense. And we had looked at each other before deciding to do it. And my son was like, there's no way. There's no way we can make it in an hour and 20 minutes from Tijuana to San Diego. There's no way. And I looked at him and I was like, we can do anything. We can absolutely do anything. The power of us, the Holy Trinity, the 3 of us, we are so powerful together. And he was like, you're right, we can. And so we got through this border, through the Tijuana border. We got back into the US. We got an Uber driver. The Uber driver was playing like heavy metal music, really, really loud. We're like, we got to get to the airport right now. As soon as we get into the airport or into the cab, we are kind of like, we're all pushing and pulling our energy. And I said, okay, let's imagine what the ticket looks like. We all imagined what the ticket looks like. It says, you know, and we don't even have these tickets yet. You know, we've got to get to the airport and get these tickets. So the ticket, you know, it's got San Diego to Costa Rica. Everybody envision it. So we're all envisioning it. And I'm like, what do we feel like? You know, we're super sweaty. So we're all imagining we feel super sweaty and our backs hurt because we've been running this whole time. And I was like, what are we going to say as we're walking up the port to the plane? And my son was like, we're going to be like, we did it. You know, we did it. So we get to that airport and pull in and they've closed the outside down. So we run inside and the lady's like, I've got 2 minutes to check your bags. I'm going to try. But I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to try. And so I'm just waiting for her to check them. And she's like, I can't, I didn't do it fast enough. I can't check your bags. She's like, but go ahead, take your bags with you. It's going to be okay. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. I'm not thinking, none of us are thinking about all of these things, various things, lots of things inside these bags that really, never would go through TSA.
Wow. I mean, cool. Yeah. Nice.
That never should be able to go through. And if you've ever been through TSA, you know you've got to go through security and they check everything and they put it through the scanner and you know all that.
The plasma gowns one would have been a weird one. Loads of things. Yeah, you're probably right. Loads of things would have not been allowed.
Well, you can only have 4-ounce bottles of liquids, and after 4 ounces, they'll toss it. They'll throw it away. And I had big bottles of Gans wrapped in bubble wrap paper. I had all kinds of herbs. I had all kinds of liquids. Lots of stuff. I had 3 tasers.
Tasers, wow, okay. Okay.
I had a lot of stuff in there. I had my kefir grains in my backpack. Probiotic type liquid type thing that we make for pennies. And so I had all this stuff, you know. So we get to the security part and there's no one there. The airport is like a ghost town, you know, and we get there and we're going to go through and the guy's like, do you have any liquids in these bags? And we had taken the bags and saran wrapped them up like crazy, like lots and lots of plastic. Yeah. And the reason for that is when you go through Mexico, you want to make sure nobody can get into your bag and they're not going to pull anything out and all that kind of thing. So this was like really tightly closed. And the guy's like, I'm going to have to go through these bags. There's a lot of stuff in there that
Oh, okay.
I don't think you're going to be able to go. You're going to be able to bring. We had 10 minutes at this point before this flight was going to leave. So my husband's like, pulls the plastic off like, like Hulk. And he's like, go ahead. You and Caden, is our son, go ahead, run up, tell them to hold the plane. I'm coming. And I tell the guy, I'm like, whatever you have to take, just take it. Whatever you got to take, we're going to Costa Rica. If we've got to get rid of things, we got to get rid of things. And it's like one of those situations where you realize, put down the weight, put down the hold to the material things. And
Yes. Yeah.
when you do that, when you kind of hold on tight to things, you tend to have more things that come into your path that kind of cause distortions. So I was like, whatever has to go, has to go. So Aiden and I ran ahead. We ran up to where we were going to be getting on the flight, and encountered somebody who was like not super very nice and was not going to check us in. And again, I started focusing my energy. This is going to be just fine. Envisioning us get on the plane. This woman left. Another guy comes out and he's like, hey, can I check you in? And I said, yeah, my husband's coming along. He's just, held up at security. Oh, no problem. No problem at all. Oh, you're going to Costa Rica? Pura vida. So my husband comes running up like 2 minutes later. I don't know how he got these bags closed back up. And we know when we're going on a trip, you pack your bags quite in a specific way that it's kind of difficult to get everything back in. He's got them packed up. He comes running up and I said, what did they take? Did they take all the herbs? He said the only thing they took was some shampoo, some cedar bug spray, and some magnesium oil. That's all they took.
Nice. You're lucky. You got lucky.
Yeah, beyond lucky. So we got on that plane and we're starting to walk up to the plane, and just as naturally as possible, we're all like, we did it! And we get on that plane and there's barely anybody there. I mean, we each had like 3 seats to lounge out.
Cool.
And it was fantastic. It was really a very exciting moment in our lives, because it was like hopping through a portal. It was like that portal was about to close, and we had to make the decision that no matter what, we were hopping through that portal, and we had to create that in the invisible first. You create everything in that causal world first, and we can forget that and get stressed out by what our senses tell us. Our 5 senses can tell us, no, there's no way that this can happen. But when you really are focusing energy, and we practice this a lot, when we practice focusing our energy, it's amazing the things that we can make happen. Now, it's easier to do that in certain situations. It's hard to do that when you're in the US. It's hard to focus your energy. It's hard to do that when you're surrounded by a city and you're not getting grounded in nature. You're not eating the proper foods. So there's a lot that goes into it. So lightening yourself up so that you're not so dense, so that you can make the things happen that you want to happen. But I would say time is nothing. Time is nothing. Time, it can be 3 years, it can be 3 weeks, it can be 3 minutes. You can be very surprised at what can happen.
Hear you. And I love that story. And I think it's symbolic actually of divinity and synchronicity with you, like literally last time borders, the visualization, the I'm going to do it no matter what. I think it's symbolic of, your path of showing us the way, being inspiration to us, which you are. That's how I found you actually, from your water kefirs, which we'll get to want to at some point in the future, maybe in this interview as well. So I saw your water kefir video. I was like, wow, this is really impressive stuff. I need to do it for free. And I knew you were living in Cuba. I saw you living in Cuba, and I was like, wow, these people are pretty inspirational. I didn't know 6 weeks though. I thought you lived there much longer. You seemed like you're very comfortable. So
it feels like home. This place has been calling us. Costa Rica has been calling us home for the last 5 years, probably longer. And so many people that we talk to have similar stories. We had a potluck meetup, the first week we were here, and it was a bunch of people that got together that have really cool stories over in the Diamante Valley. Cool. And listening to these stories of how people were called specifically out to the jungle, and the different synchronistic type things that lined up for them. It's really cool to hear. So if something is calling you, you tapped into that inner knowing, into that inner intuition, and don't let anything that your senses tell you, that everyone around you wants to tell you, you don't let it in. You don't let it into your subconscious mind, because that's when we get messed up, is when that
Yeah.
subconscious mind starts
It reminds
playing.
me of that film, The Apocalypto. There's a very famous scene with the father and the son. I don't know if you've seen Apocalypto, the film. Have you seen that film?
No,
No,
I
it's,
haven't.
it's about Incas, or these old ancient Aztec tribe. And they're an old ancient tribe. They're going around in the forest, and there's another tribe that's trying to kill them. And the father says to the son, "Don't let the fear in, son." Because
Yeah.
all around them there's just fear, and he goes, as soon as you let the fear in, it's kind of game over, and you really will end up dying or in a bad situation. So die well is the message of that. And it kind of reminds me in a kind of crazy way your story, like, don't let the fear in, just focus on the positive, like you were doing. Focus on the positive, and you're more likely to manifest it than to let the negative, which would have meant you stayed in America and would have been a very different path at that point in your journey. You probably would have got there eventually, but now you're where you are, so you're very lucky.
Well, the thing to remember is that you're always on time, no matter what. So if you try to focus too much on it always has to be positive, you're going to be creating roadblocks for yourself as well, because there's so much that sits in the subconscious. There's so much that sits in our DNA. We have so much programming going on that we're clearing out. We're clearing out all these old programs. And so sometimes it takes time to do that. And sometimes you need a specific experience in your life in order to clear out that program. And it still serves you. Everything is going to serve you. So if we get in that mindset where everything has to be positive, and if I'm not positive, that I can't manifest and all of that type of thing, we're pushing something down inside of ourselves. So you do have to have the times where the dark serves just as much as the light serves. It really does. I mean, hindsight of any experience I've gone through, I wouldn't change it. And I've been through a lot of experience in my life. I mean, from childhood and having a crazy childhood and a rough childhood on. And I wouldn't change any of it now. And I wish for everybody to get to that point in their lives where they're like, I have the perfect hindsight too. And, you know, I'm not attached to the stories of what occurred in my life, because it opened me up wider to empathy. It was what I needed in order to understand the whole all is self, that everyone else is me, because you do start to see that. You start to see that the more experiences you have, you become more and more empathic, and you start to see your reflection in everyone around you.
Yeah, that's really lovely said. Really lovely said. So you've got a lot of sunshine there, and all these things, the health protocols you do, because you said your family's doing a detox lifestyle. That's very much who you are. These would help too, I guess, with the empathy, higher vibrations, compassion that you're living. Your body is purifying itself, or you're consciously purifying yourself. You've done a lot of work subconsciously, all these kind of things. So talk a little bit about your day-to-day lifestyle. What's primarily important for you? Because you said you had a kid as well, and your husband. What's the main things you focus on the day-to-day?
Our son is 11, and he has always been unschooled, which means it's homeschooling, and we kind of hybridize a little bit of all of the things that kind of show that they work. You know, as he was younger, bringing in some Montessori type practices, and then there's Waldorf practices out there which are more focused on the whole child and nature, and not pushing a child to read at a certain age, not pushing anything. Because if we all think back to when we were children and when we were in school, most of us can say we didn't really like school too much. If we really think back, we can, and we try to remember some of the things we learned, a lot of those meaningless facts about presidents of the United States, or very fake history, and lots of science that is either very, very outdated or not even true. All of those things, they go in our minds, and then they go right out, you know, just in time to take the test. This is the time to put it on the paper, and it doesn't serve us. And we're spending all of these moments of our childhood not really gaining experience, not going after what our specific uniqueness is, because we all have a uniqueness. And so that's what unschooling focuses on, allowing the child to focus on what their uniqueness is, and not pushing them to do something that, you know, isn't really something they gravitate towards. And when you don't do that pressure, you find it's crazy, because my son has self-published his own book, and he loves to write. and he figured out, you know, how to publish.
How old is it? You said he's 11, right? He's 11 years old.
He's 11. He published this when he was, he just turned 10 when he published it, the first book. He's writing a series, and I'm biased, but this is a chapter book, and this is adult level writing. I mean, his vocabulary is amazing. All of this comes from not taking vocabulary tests, not taking spelling tests. He doesn't do any of that. He reads because he reads for pleasure. If he wants to know something, I say, go look it up and research it. And he goes and he researches. And there's never like this pressure of you have to do it this way. It's which way is going to work out best for you, which is going to make you find more enjoyment in how you're learning. And we all want to be that way. I'm unschooled. My husband's unschooled. You know, if we want to learn something new, you know, if we want to learn about GANs and gas in a nanostate, or if we want to learn about raw food, or if we want to learn more about like something that seems like far out there, like, oh, would we add in something cooked? Would we cooked mushrooms? We never put ourselves in a box. We never say, I'm a raw vegan, or I only do this, or I only do that. Because as soon as you put yourself into this box,
you limit yourself.
You pigeon yourself into something that you can't grow, you can't expand. So we love to eat raw foods. We also love to eat mushrooms, and we cook them. We eat about 95% raw, but we eat cooked mushrooms. We'll put cooked mushrooms on top of our salads and go through periods of time. I tincture my own mushrooms. I love to forage my own mushrooms. Mushrooms did this amazing healing to my brain and post.
Are you talking about psychedelic mushrooms for healing, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about both of them. I'm talking about medicinal mushrooms that you eat, and I'm talking about psychedelic mushrooms as well. Psilocybin healed my prefrontal cortex of my brain. You know, when you have post-traumatic stress disorder from childhood, from having a rough childhood, that really can stick in your subconscious, and it can affect the whole rest of your life and how you make decisions. And you can actually see the brain damage when they do MRI scans on people who've had a lot of trauma. And the mushrooms healed all that for me. I mean, I'm not saying it's 100%, oh, I had mushrooms and then I was healed. You have to do work, and you have to bring in meditation, and you have to bring in nature, and you have to bring in high vibrational foods, and you have to be on the path of self-love and healing yourself, for sure. But it is definitely a beautiful tool that we have available to us, just like herbs. You know, herbs are on another level. They have their own consciousness. They call to you, they speak to you as soon as you open up to listening to them. They're one of the only things we have now that's not hybridized. You know, it's original consciousness. So it's access to the original blueprint of who we are.
What kind of herbs do you have over there? What kind of herbs are you talking about?
We use Dr. Morse herbs. We also use Gino from the Master Fast herbs. We use herbs that we forage ourselves. So just now, since we're just now here out of Costa Rica, I'm learning like what grows around me. And anytime I see a weed or something like that, and a lot of a weed, I'm like, that is something important. It's calling to me. What is that weed right there? And I'll take a picture of it. And you can take a picture of, you know, anything you come across on your walk. And a lot of times you'll take a picture, and you can use various different apps. I use Google Lens, and it'll pull up, well, this is what this is. And I don't think anytime I've taken a picture of a weed or something like that I've looked at, and it hasn't been something medicinal.
Wow. Crazy.
It's just, there's medicine growing around us everywhere. And what's growing in your area specifically is probably what you specifically need, and what your body wants. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, really good point. For your local area, you pick the foods from around you instead of getting shipped out from miles away, thousands of miles away. It's probably a better idea.
Absolutely. It's so important to start learning what is around you. I remember the first time I began to really learn that, I was following this herbalist that has this website called Eat the Weeds. And we went and met up with him, and he took us on an herb walk all around Florida, and everywhere we looked, everything was medicinal.
Nice.
Things that people, you know, spray weed killer on to try to get rid of in your yard. Things like nettle, which grows everywhere and is so abundant in minerals and helps with allergies. nettle grows just about everywhere. These beautiful, beautiful herbs are just so abundant, and in every area, really in every area, something is growing that can be helpful to you. Yeah, I've got clients. I've got a client who's in the Maldives. I've got a client in New Zealand. And when I talk to them, you know, they can't get things shipped into them right now. And I'm like, it's time to learn what's around you. You've got things around you. Just get your camera phone out, snap a picture of it. And
you say it's Google Lens. What was it? Google Lens, you said?
I use Google Lens because I have a Google Pixel phone, and it's just automatic. As soon as I take a picture, I can just click the button and it'll tell me what it is. But there are so many apps that do that.
Okay. How'd you find them? Would you type in like mushroom identification or weed identification on the app thing? Search?
Yeah, I think that's what you would do. I didn't even have to download it. It came standard on my phone. It's just Google Lens. So, but I know I've got friends who use all different types of other apps. There's so many of them out there. So yeah, I would just
cool.
search,
I'm going to start doing that. I hope the audience does too, if they're not into this stuff. But
yeah, it's empowering. It's super empowering to pick your own herbs. And then once you pick your own herbs, you can start tincturing them, which is super easy. And the amount of vibration that goes into something that you consume, that you have picked yourself, and that you have asked the plant or asked the tree, is it okay? Can I take from you? And there's this honor and reverence there. It's a whole other level of healing for you when you've actually picked it.
That's a really good point too. You're holding it, you're caring for it. By the way, we've got dandelions, stinging nettles, sorrel, hawthorn in the UK right now. There's 4 massive ones. Dandelions everywhere. I love it. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I love sorrel. I love adding a little bit of sorrel to a salad and giving it that kind of lemony flavor.
One of the tastiest I've ever had. It's really tasty, sorrel. Don't know why, but I love it. I love the taste of it. It's really good.
You know not to do a high level of sorrel. I remember the first time I came across sorrel in Miami, I started juicing it because that was so good, and I was juicing it with like cucumbers and things, and I started to get some kidney pain.
Oh, okay.
It's very high in oxalates, so it's good like an herb to use in small amounts.
Yes.
And wonderful, but very, very high in oxalates. So you don't want to use it in large amounts, like juicing it or something like I did.
Yeah, that's good knowledge. Do you want to touch a little bit about, because I found you from the water kefirs, as I mentioned earlier. So what is this water kefirs? And you said it's really easy to make too. I love the video, by the way. I still haven't got around to doing it. It's on the back of my mind. Do you want to explain to people what's going on with water kefirs and how, kind of like in a simple way, how to make it?
So water kefir or water kefir, it's KEFIR. You have to obtain the little kefir grains first before you can even make it. So it's not like you can make the kefir grains or something like that. You need to get them gifted to you from a friend, or find them in some way. When I first got my first set of grains, I looked on Craigslist. Anybody have water kefir grains? And of course, people get them and they have them and they grow and they grow and they grow so much. So people share. And so I got them from this woman who just, met me in a parking lot and gave me some grains. And they have continued to grow for years after this. And I share them when I was in the United States. I shared them with people all over the country. They ship really well. You only need a tiny little bit at a time because they'll just begin to grow and grow. It's kind of along the lines of making kombucha, similar, much easier, and in my from my lens and in my opinion, much better for you. Kombucha, we went through our stage of making kombucha several years ago. It caused an exacerbation and bringing to the surface candida in all 3 of us.
Did it?
It has a lot of yeast in it. Wild fermentation can occur, and when you're kind of buying these kombuchas that are bottled at the store, sometimes they're adding sugar to it, or they're adding CO2 to it in order to make it more bubbly. And it's also very acidic. Yeah. So it's high in a type of probiotic or a species of probiotic called D-lactate. We have L-lactate and D-lactate. And D-lactate can kind of cause an acidosis in the body in specific people, depending on what your microbiome looks like, what kind of bacteria are floating around in your system. So you know how, like, if you were to work out a lot and you get really sore, if your legs get sore, if you go on a really long bike ride and you
too
get
much exercise, you overdo it. Acidosis, big time.
That's D-lactate. That's that's lactate being produced. One of the ways you can actually mitigate that, side note, is using malic acid. So lots of apples.
Apples, yes.
Full of malic acid and apple juice fast if you're trying to do, you know, a lot of building or something like that.
That would cleanse the liver too, I guess. That would cleanse, the malic acid is really good for liver cleansing, so that would really.
Yeah. Yeah, when I do liver gallbladder flushes, I do it a little different than the mainstream way. I don't use Epsom salts. I don't do it in quite a harsh way, but I add in malic acid, organic malic acid, and I also do apple juice fasting beforehand, and it just makes it go a lot more smoothly. Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the kefir. So it's very simple. You can actually, if you're in the US, you can get grains on Amazon. I've had clients who've gotten grains shipped to them from a woman in Florida. So they're not difficult to find. You just gotta look a little bit. Look either like on a Facebook group or, you know, ask in something like Facebook Marketplace or look there, but you're bound to find them. But really, you produce just in one evening, depending on your weather. You know, in Costa Rica or in California or in Florida, where we've always been, we chase the warm weather. They're gonna grow and do their thing a lot faster than if your home is cold. But you can still make it if your home's cold. It just probably might take 2 days or 3 days instead of 1 day. And you're just gonna feed them some sugar water. I like to use like coconut sugar because it's really, really high in minerals. Or there's a type of sugar that's here in Costa Rica that comes in blocks, and it is super mineral rich, and they love it. And I feed them that, and I feed them a little slice of ginger, and I put them in this little cage, a kefir cage, so that it's easier to kind of strain them out. And all I'm doing is adding that sugar water, and then the next day I've got kefir. Now, I like to add flavor to it, and I also like to increase the B vitamins, so I'll do a second fermentation where I'll add some apple to it, some Costa Rican apple, or a little bit of mango, or some other sweet fruit, and then I let it go another 24 hours, and then I've got an even more potent elixir that's really great just for the whole entire microbiome. It costs pennies, and we love it. We have it every day. We have a little bit of it, probably about 8 ounces, a cup of 8 ounces every day, all three of us.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds like you've got great knowledge, by the way, on a lot of stuff to do with health and detox. I guess this comes from a lifestyle choice that you've been for a very long time. It's great to listen to. It really is.
Thank you. I've just always been passionate about. I'm kind of like a sleuther. You know, I like to see what lies behind the curtain. And the best information you're going to find is never on the first page of Google. You know, it takes reading sometimes the old books or the old knowledge. You know, reading what somebody like Arnold Ehret had to say is maybe better knowledge than what you're going to find from Dr. Oz on mainstream TV.
Right? Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. You know, you decide to kind of like weave your way behind the curtain a little bit, and you'll be surprised at the knowledge that starts coming to you, and especially when you open yourself up and don't put yourself in a box.
Yeah, like you said earlier, like it's like amalgamation of all these different things. Try out, and I think the most important thing that you're talking about is experience. Like, get experience of what works for you, and then do it. And then if it works, keep doing it. Don't just discard something. Try everything, and if it works, stick with it. If it doesn't work, discard and just keep going and never stop learning. I think.
Yeah, and trust yourself. Because the biggest thing is that we are creators, and I feel like that's the biggest thing that's kind of suppressed in us as humans right now is the amount of power that we contain is insane. It is just enormous, and it's really been it's been blanketed. Our powers have been blanketed, and when you really start to tune into yourself and go inside and listen to your intuition about things and not push your intuition away, you begin to trust yourself more and more. I have a friend who years ago started the mantra, I love myself completely, I trust myself completely. And it's always stuck with me, because when you say that to yourself, even if you don't believe it at first, you eventually will start to believe it. You'll reprogram your subconscious mind to believe this. And everything you do will serve you in some way. Even if you don't think it's serving you, you're going to find out later, oh, I see how that served me. I know why I had to go through that.
Yeah, so true. So true. It's the stories you tell yourself that become yourself. And we have to put so much work, but it's so much worthy. So you said you take clients. How can people find you if they're interested? You've got clients, I guess, around the world. You said Maldives and stuff. they come to you? How do people get in contact with you to become a client of yours?
Brit the Raw Alchemist, Brit.the.raw alchemist. That's my handle on Instagram. That's the best way. I'm on Facebook as Brit Hope as well. I don't tend to use Facebook a whole lot, but you can always contact me there. Everything kind of auto posts from Instagram onto Facebook. And my husband is almost finished with my website. We changed it all up, and we did a new website, a new name for it. So that should be coming up pretty soon. But any of those ways are really great. Just direct message me.
Yeah, and this is for me as well. Like, I just want to see your son's book on Amazon. So, what was it called? What's his book?
It's called The Forgotten Magics.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. The Forgotten. I guess his surname. What's his name? The surname's Hope, right?
His name is Caden Nantes, Nantes.
Oh, is it? Okay, Caden Nantes, and it's called The Forgotten Hope. The Forgotten Hope.
Oh no, The Forgotten Magics. And
Forgotten Magics.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'm going to check it out and possibly buy it. I like to try and support people, especially when it comes to books. So yeah, I'd love to read it, and I'm sure it's going to be great. So yeah,
amazing. Yeah, definitely put a review up for him. He loves seeing the reviews come up.
Oh, brilliant! He's got loads of reviews. That was so hard I found to get reviews. Nice one, well done. He's doing better than me. I love it.
That's the kind of world we live in, where reviews really make a difference, and communicating back and forth with each other, and in these communities, buying each other's books and supporting each other's YouTube channels, and
Do you guys have YouTube? Does he have YouTube? Do you have YouTube channels? No?
We don't have a YouTube channel now.
Okay, you'll get to that then at some point. It's really good to have YouTube.
Maybe we might.
Cool. And before we go, is there any last message that you want to get across to people, or is there something I didn't ask you that you'd like to get across to the audience?
I've been sharing a lot with people lately, especially the way the collective world is going, about our multidimensionality. And I feel like it can become maybe a obscure topic if you're not quite ready to completely understand it. I've got a few videos on multidimensionality, but the way that time works is that everything is always happening all at once. So my perspective and my lens right now, and then someone else's perspective and lens, they're all true. Every single thing we can think of, all of it is true. So you may be hearing things in the media, you may be hearing all these very scary things that are going on, and they all are true. It's what you decide to focus on determines the timeline that you're going to go down. So our focus is so important, what we focus on. And it can get to be kind of a paradoxical type of thing when we think about it. You can get into this mindset of a little bit like new age bullshit, where it's like, I have to be positive all the time, good vibes only, or something like that. And that's
spiritual
not
bypassing too. Spiritual bypassing is a word I'm thinking of.
Totally, yes. And that's not what I'm saying at all. But I am saying that your subconscious mind is so very important, and everything you view goes into a storage container there. And really, like 97% of our day-to-day interactions are based on the subconscious mind. And so a huge aspect of making your life go the way you want it to go, like if you want to move to Costa Rica or whatever it is you want to do, if you want to start eating a more raw vegan lifestyle, or you want to become healthier, whatever it is you want to do is really about reprogramming all of this programming you have received since you were a child, and probably even programming that's stored in your DNA from your parents' parents, and beyond. And right now is an important, amazing time to be alive, because you have the opportunity to deprogram and rewrite these programs. So, we're in a world right now where a lot of people are on social media a lot, and it is one of the biggest ways that we get programs. There's a great book that I'm reading. It's called Defeating the Archon. I've read it, and then I'm reading actually his next book. And I'll send it over to you what it's called, so you can see what it's called. The next one is the Magnum Opus, and it's like a whole course. And it's talking about regaining your energy for your own, because our amount of manifestation we can do in the world, our amount of creation that we can put out, that we can project out so that it occurs in our life is based on how much energy we contain, how much energy we can keep rather than give away. And if you're on Instagram stories or Facebook and you're seeing some story replayed over and over again, and you notice you start to feel upset or bothered by it, you're leaking out energy. You're losing your energy, and it makes it more difficult for you to be able to bring the things into your life that you want. Not only that, but it's being stored in your subconscious mind so that you continue to create that timeline. And what happens is we've got all these different timelines that are all going on all at once. And when we really start focusing on this one timeline, that's where we're going. We get to be in that timeline. And just choose wisely. Choose wisely what comes into your filters, what comes into your nose, what comes into your ears, what comes, everything. The media you listen to, the music you listen to, all of this, it's so important. It's your mental diet. Your mental diet is just as important, if not more important, than your food intake, your food consumption.
Well, I like that. Mental diet is more important than food diet. Well, the food diet is important, so mental.
They're both very important.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like quickly for me, I'm naturally, unconsciously now, I learn from everybody. I'm still developing my personality. So I'm like, oh, you're funny, I'll learn from you. You've got good knowledge, I'll learn from you. I want to hang around you. But also with media, I get bored when when it's something that I'm not passionate about. So I used to be in sports. If I watch sports now, most of it's boring. Things that I just get put off, I can feel it in my soul. It hurts. So I stop doing what my soul tells me is wrong. And I automatically just go towards gravitate and spend my day doing things I love, which I love. So I feel like I'm doing automatically. I can probably improve on it for sure and perfect it. But yeah.
You're unschooling yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You were an adult unschooler. That's exactly what you just described, is unschooling. And it's something we can all do. Unschooling ourselves and going after what our passion is and what we really love and what we gravitate towards, rather than what doesn't feel good. If it doesn't feel good, why keep giving it your energy? Because your energy is needed to create a timeline. Your energy plus your friend's energy plus your mom's energy, all that. And your mom exists across all different timelines. Your husband exists across all different timelines in various different ways, various different versions of him, various different versions of her. So when we work on what we put into the projector and place upon the screen, and remember that we're the projector that puts it on the screen, we start to bring the versions of everyone into our lives that we want to see. We start to bring the location we want to see, the food we want to see, the air we want to see. All that starts to come into play when we realize we're the projector, and we can create anything we want. I like to call it activate God state creator mode.
Activate God's state. That's quite a wordful. Activate God's state creator mode. Okay. I like it. This has been absolutely amazing, Brittany. I'm not lying. I think I really enjoyed this, and it's been fascinating. I wish I could spend longer with you. Maybe if you want in the future, we could do a part 2 months down the line when you've got, take a break, and then we'll come back to you. But yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. You have much knowledge to share, and I'm very happy that people are gonna appreciate this video, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. This was Holistic Health with Harry with Brittany Hope.